Every professional has a unique magic waiting to be discovered. At Finding the Unicorn in You helps you unlock your hidden potential. Thank you for tuning in. Now switching it over to our host.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Finding the Unicorn in You. Today, I have a very special guest who is known as the HR Lady, your no BS human resource expert. Her expertise stems from personal experience as she entered the field of HR without a clear plan and faced numerous challenges along the way. This made her authentic, transparent, and result oriented, and committed to providing practical solutions without hidden agendas. So, without further ado, welcome Wendy Sellers.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Thank you for being on here. So tell us the backstory and the history of the HR Lady.
Sure. So there is no way in heck I went to school originally to be in HR. What person does that? I went to college for healthcare administration and went all the way after basically nobody in my family really went to college. I was like, all right, I'm going to go immediately get a master's degree. Side note, I do not suggest that whatsoever. Because it really should work in the field to see, okay, is this worth another $20,000, $30,000 of education? And it turns out that's not where I wanted to be, was healthcare administration. The pace, the compliance, it was just so slow. And I'm just such a fast paced person. And I was very unable to solve problems because of so much of things are tied up in the government and healthcare. Back then, it wasn't even the insurance as much. So anyway, I ended up finding myself at this opportunity. I left northeastern Pennsylvania, literally threw a dart on a map and said, I guess I'm moving to Florida. Came to Florida, which is where I am now and have been for about 30 years, and had a paper resume. Remember those things?
Oh,
Those
yeah.
paper resumes, standing in an elevator going up to an interview, and had a paper resume in my hand. And somebody walked in who happened to be a staffing person and said, hey, can you do HR? And I said, yeah, I could figure it out. And that is how I ended up in human resources. Now, keep in mind, in that meantime, in between the fact that I decided I didn't want to be in healthcare administration because of the slow pace, I ended up in retail and restaurant management. So I was already working a lot with a lot more fast paced items, but didn't love that either, but definitely led me to a lot more of, okay, if you're a restaurant manager or assistant manager or retail manager, you are also HR at that point in time because there's nothing but fires and putting out fires all the time. So I was like, yeah, I could figure that out. I've done a little bit of that. And I ended up working at an architectural engineering firm. I was their first HR person, and I was with them for a very long time. They were a small company. So I got to get my feet in the door and grow with them. A ton of mergers and acquisitions and a lot of growth from little tiny firm, one person or one office to literally offices around the world. I did go back to school, get my master's degree in human resources and every certification known to man with HR and known to woman and man. And then I even taught the SHRM course for a while
Oh,
too.
wow.
But yeah, that's how passionate I was about HR and getting people educated on HR. So that's a little bit about me. And then eventually I said, okay, I'm just going to go be a consultant because I wanted to help more than one set of people. I wanted to help many companies. So now I'm an HR consultant. People call me when they don't have HR. They're usually small businesses, not always, but they're small businesses. They don't have HR. They don't even know where to start. So they call me and I teach them how to do it because my goal is to go away.
Yeah. I love that. So I know when it comes to HR, a lot of people have a vague idea of what y'all do. And like I know from my experience working with organizations, a lot of people say HR is for the company, not for the employee. What are some things that you can say to break these stigmas and be able to clarify exactly what HR is?
On a little side note is there is some truth to that. I'll be honest with you. Somebody's not going to hire a lawyer or an accountant or even an HR person and say, oh, go ahead and only help the employees. It's really going to be there to help them. But hopefully they're thinking it's going to help us get the best employee there is instead of just protecting us from the employees in lawsuits. I would say it's 51% pro company. The rest is pro employee. But if your HR person is working closely with the entire leadership and management company or management team, then you would be pro employee because you'd say, okay, let's slow down. Let's not rush into hiring. Let's actually figure out what the heck we want before we give out a job offer. Let's interview accordingly so that we get the right person. Let's, I don't know, do a proper onboarding and an orientation and get them up to speed, not on day one, because that's going to go in one ear and out the other, but on day 30, 60, 90, depending on the position. For some roles, you need to have an orientation, onboarding, whatever you want to call it, a full training and development program for the entire first year with the company. And then ta-da, you don't have turnover and you have great employees who actually are like, wow, I feel like I belong here. Wouldn't that be nice?
No, yeah. And I think that's something that I think as employees and employers, it's good to know that it is a collaboration. You have to be able to work together in order to create a retention plan and also be able to create a good filter so you hire good employees coming in from the beginning. Because
Yeah.
if you're just accepting everyone, then you're setting yourself up for failure because not everybody's a good fit for depending on the position you're trying to hire.
Exactly. And then if you're desperate, which let's face it, most companies are desperate when they're hiring because somebody just retired or walked out the door, or if good things are happening, you just got more work and you realize, I don't have enough employees. I got to go figure this out now. And so they tend to be desperate when they're hiring and rush through the interviewing process. So I tell everybody who will listen, please slow down in the interviewing process. In fact, for those of you that are listening right now, why don't you go ahead and pause those job ads right now? And then let's look at the job ads, which means we have to look at the job description and see if they're even right. Are they accurate? Are they outdated? Is it really explaining what the heck you're going to do here? Even if it's a difficult industry or a difficult job, just being honest, they're going to figure it out when they come to
Yeah.
the workplace. And week one, they're like, whoa, this is not what I signed up for. So transparency is very important to me. And I tell everybody, like I said, pause your job ads. Let's rewrite the job descriptions. Let's make them accurate. Make sure we're really putting in there all the knowledge, skills, and abilities that we need them to have. And then letting them know if you don't have this set of skills, we have a training program for you. So don't rule yourself out. We want to make sure you're a total fit. And if we even got somebody that would have 50% of the knowledge, skills, and abilities that we needed today, you'd probably be in really good shape because unfortunately, and fortunately, depending on how you look at it, technology is changing at such a fast pace that we can't expect people to have, oh, give me 5 years of experience of Chat GPT. No, that just came out a year and a half, 2 years ago. Your job ad's insane. Never mind the fact that you're going to ask questions that aren't really relevant. So technology has changed the way we do things so at such a rapid pace that some older individuals, mainly baby boomers, have actually self-selected themselves out and said, I'm going to retire early. And let's face it, they also did that during COVID, right?
Yeah.
So during COVID, if people, regardless of what age, had an opportunity to leave the workforce, the traditional workforce, they did. So now we're lacking finding people with the knowledge, skills, and abilities that we need. Then we just had all these people retire. Then we have these other people say, I'm just going to go be a part-time employee or whatever it might be. On top of that, we have new technology. So it's hard. It is a hard struggle these days to fill positions with the right person. And if you just take your time and set up the job ad and the recruiting process correctly, I don't know, maybe not put the job ad out if the hiring manager's about to go on vacation and now all these candidates are applying and then they're sitting there waiting for the hiring manager to interview them. They're like, oh no, he's in Canada, he's on vacation. Why did you have me apply then right now? It just gives you a bad taste. And so you would think that some of these things I'm saying are common sense. And I think they are, but I think there's so many moving pieces at companies that, the HR person, the recruiter, maybe the hiring manager, the receptionist, depending on how big your company is, they're just not all working together. So, folks, I suggest that if you do have any job openings, just get together a little team or a committee to say, how are we going to attack this? What's your schedule look like? What's important to you? Do we need to rewrite the job description? Oh, here's another important one. Do we have the money to actually pay for this role?
Yes.
Probably not. So now we need to figure out, okay, we need to make some changes to the role because we could only afford this. And the people that we really want have this over here. And then our reputation is on the line
Mhm.
because that information goes everywhere on social media. When somebody interviews and says, oh, I fell in love with this company, I interviewed it, and then they offered me this as a slap in the face. Trust me, that goes all over the internet.
Oh, yeah. And that's especially with like the COVID and things and all the different things are impacting the economy right now, job absorption is real and people are trying to combine positions, but the salary is staying the same in that very low base pay. So you have to really ask yourself, is what I'm asking this person to do really equitable with the salary? And is that, if not, then maybe we need to split it or diversify this in other ways possible. For
Exactly.
individuals that are applying, because I focus a lot on career coaching. And one of the things I teach them, like the interview skills, the resume, and all that jazz. However, do you have any tips for the applicant that might be looking through all of these postings? Because like it is, like you said, on both sides, it's really hard. Because either you get really like an abundance of applicants that are underqualified or do not meet what you're looking for, and sometimes you have candidates that are qualified, but they're not reaching the next levels because other people that are unqualified are just spamming all of
Yeah.
these like databases. What do you recommend kind of
Well,
like
what
people do?
yeah, one easy thing that I recommend now, I already mentioned, is using AI to help update your resume specific to that job posting. Now, folks, be careful. Don't copy and paste your entire resume into AI because there are bad people in the world and they'll steal your information. So if I was going to help somebody rewrite their resume so that it more closely matches the job ad slash job description, I would just take all their personal information off. Don't lie. They're going to figure it out eventually. Then you're going to get fired. So don't lie. I don't care how desperate you are. You literally put your resume and the job posting in AI and say, what questions might the hiring manager ask me? And then practice your answer. If it's important enough to you, you should be practicing your answer. You're only going to get a 20, 30-minute phone call or interview, even if in person, and where they're going to rule you in or rule you out. So I want them to rule you in by you using keywords and terminology to that industry, to that company, again, without fibbing, and then let them know, hey, if you're not a publisher or you're not a writer or you're not an editor and that's not the job you're looking for, on the other side, I say to the HR people, listen, their resume may not be the best, but that's not what you're hiring them to do. So it's a written piece of a bio, and not everybody knows how to write a resume, but we are running out of excuses as resume writers that we have these things like Google Gemini and ChatGPT, and a lot of these things are free that says, okay, help me rewrite this so I look more professional. And then practice those interview questions that you believe they're going to ask or that AI tells you they're going to ask so that you don't feel so stressed because, yeah, recruiting is stressful on both ends.
Oh, yeah.
It's stressful for a recruiting company, it's stressful for hiring teams, and it's stressful for the candidate. And so I would tell the candidate, just let them know, hey, I'm a little nervous. I haven't interviewed in a while. So forgive me if I take a minute to answer. And then hopefully the hiring manager will understand that as well. So we just got to use the tools that we can to figure out, how can I get into this seat here? The other thing that I did want to mention, and I'm sure you know this as well, is on the HR side, on the recruiting side, not everybody's great job ad writers, right? And so they put, oh, here's the salary or the hourly pay and the benefits. We offer health insurance. And I'm the first one. I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? I want to know what you mean. Do you have good
Mhm.
health insurance? Do you pay for it all? Do you pay for most of it? Do you have not so great health insurance, but you pay for most of it? Like, why aren't we as HR putting a careers page together and letting anybody and everybody access the careers page to say, here's our company values, here's our mission vision. You have to meet our company values in order to be employed here and stay employed here. Here's our benefits, and here is detailed of what we mean by, oh, we have health insurance, and it turns out it's $800 a month for it for one
Yeah.
person. I don't care how high your salary is, I'm going to need a little more than that, right?
Yeah.
So just be transparent. If you know you don't have great benefits, just let them know up front so they know that they're what they're getting into. And then please work on the side to figure out, okay, I can't convince the CFO to have better health insurance, for example, but maybe we could add other things. Maybe we could add like a learning management system, a training and development system. Maybe we could have other more flexibility in hybrid work. Maybe we could have more flexibility in an amazing employee assistance program, or bring your dog to the office, whatever it is. Think outside the box.
Mm.
Healthcare is not the only thing that people are going after. They may have that through some other benefit somewhere in their family, military, if that exists anymore, things like that. So we just think outside the box. If you have an amazing company culture, brag about that. Get your current employees to do a survey and do quotes and testimonials so that they're like, wow, these employees love them. If you have employees that have been there for a long time and they're happy, make sure that they're a spokesperson for you. They don't have to be the most polished person. You could help coach them through it in a video or just an online quote or testimonial. But we're up against ourselves and when we're recruiting. And so the candidates need to step up and that company needs to step up.
Yeah, definitely. And the thing that you said there, which is the key thing, is transparency. If you want to attract the right candidates for your organization, you need to be transparent and the right people that are okay with all the things, whether it's like a high premium rate they have to pay for your insurance, or if you need to work from like the office like 5 days a week, whatever it may be, a person that is okay with those restrictions will come to you. But if you come in with false pretenses, or you're like saying you may have options for remote once a month, you really have to be as transparent as possible so you get the right people applying.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've written a few books, and I actually have on my website a free booklet called The Five Pillars of Company Culture. So if anybody wants to go grab that, it's just a PDF download, thehrlady.com. And there's actually an audio version as well. But it talks about making sure that in your company culture, you're bragging about this to candidates, but make sure you're actually holding up to it in for employees, about your company values, focusing on giving feedback and receiving feedback, holding people accountable, holding yourself accountable, holding managers accountable, team unity, making sure everybody feels that they belong there and that when they speak up professionally and respectfully, that they are heard and they're part of the team and that communication is ongoing. And when any
Mhm.
manager thinks, oh, yeah, I've communicated well enough, I assure you, you have not.
I love that. No, this is really great advice. And then for y'all that are interested, go to her website, check out her books, try to read a little bit more about this, and really develop your skills in this so that you can create a better culture and a better environment in your agency. So, with all of this that's going on, like it's really hard to juggle all of these things and maintain a really good mental health. So, what do you recommend doing, or what do you do for yourself to de-stress and ground yourself when things get wild?
Yeah, so I myself like to travel. In fact, I just finished all the 50 states in the US not too long ago. Now,
Congrats.
a lot of that was actually work related too. So when I do go speak at conferences, I make sure I have a little bit more fun there. And I just love to explore, even locally. If you don't like to travel or you can't afford to travel, you can literally just explore your neighborhood and the new store that opened, talk to people, but not only talk to them, actually listen. And so that's the biggest thing, the biggest piece of advice that I would give to anybody, no matter what role you're in, is ongoing education. Doesn't have to be formal, but just continuing education all the time. The willingness to keep learning through continuing education, which might be reading a book, might be going to a course, might be even just watching a YouTube video. And then following that up with the willingness to do hard work and get in the trenches, especially if you're a manager and up, people want to see that you're willing to stand next to them. But maybe you're traveling with them to a conference and then also saying, hey, let's go out. And for me, it's drink red wine. It definitely is in my bloodstream and it's okay. But why I'm at a wine bar drinking red wine, talking to people like, where are you from? In the US, really anywhere, but in the US, especially since COVID, just asking that one question, hey, where are you from? It opens up so many doors. And then you could start talking to people that might look or sound different than you. And then you can self educate yourself to not be judgmental.
Yeah, expanding your horizons, learning new things. And if you can do both, travel and do that, amazing. Like going to conferences, going to workshops, attending like seminars, all of these things are really good thing to improve not only your career, but also take a little bit of travel time. And if you can take an extra day or two to go around the city, go around wherever it is, then even better because you're implementing self-care as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, that's amazing. And I do want to hit a little bit deeper into that because there's this thing that a lot of millennials and Gen Xers typically struggle with, which is the guilt of taking time off.
Yeah.
What do you recommend? How can they not feel guilty by actually like doing the self-care?
Schedule it. Just schedule it and make it happen. And don't even just schedule, oh, I'm taking off this day. I'm taking out this day. I'm meeting my friend at the park and we're going to talk about this. So now if you have to cancel, you have to cancel on somebody. Or even better is pay for something that you don't want to cancel, like a concert. Concerts are expensive now, right? So if I pay for that, I'm going to it. Book it, put it on your calendar, and make sure that you actually book it. I book it all the time. I've been trying to take Fridays off, and that has not happened this year. Last year it did. And I realized literally today that I was like, it's because I don't have something booked there. I don't have somebody hold me accountable saying you were going to meet me for lunch that day, or go wine tasting, or traveling, or watch this movie, or whatever it might be. But book it. Make sure that you take care of yourself, and you could have some fun with that. You could also say, I'm just going to book a massage and then come home and sleep and watch TV and nobody's going to hear from me. That's fine too. But if you booked a massage, for example, that's something you're going to pay for. And if you cancel, there's probably a cancellation fee. So on the other side, managers, you need to let your people take time off, and you need to encourage them to take time off as well.
Oh yeah, there has to be a balance because a fresh employee is a person that's going to have new creative outlets, be able to really put in the time and the effort into the organization. But if they're burnt out, they're not going to be of any use to you or themselves, and eventually they're going to end up leaving. So making sure that they actually take the time that they're allowed it to, and then don't, as a manager, also don't give excuses or guilt them for taking the time that they have. No, wonderful advice. Beautiful thing. One thing that I do is I'm really big with movies. So I got the AMC pass and I schedule out my movies at least 2 weeks ahead. So
Nice.
in my calendar, it's already paid. I have to do it. And that keeps me accountable to, okay, I'm watching this movie. I'm watching this time. I have to close my laptop and go. Because if not, yeah, I will work. I will.
Yep. And you have to turn you have to turn your phone off in the movie
Yes,
theater.
yes,
Right? So it's like,
exactly.
it's a win-win.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. And I even set up my notifications. I'm currently off, so I'll reach out to you tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, I love that. We're getting towards the end of the podcast where we're going to talk about the whole premise of unicorns. So, what is the unicorn lesson that you've learned, or also known as the most impactful lesson that you've learned that really shaped you to be the person you are today?
The biggest thing that I would say, I have a book called Suck It Up, Buttercup, and people think that it means, oh, suck it up, Buttercup. But I follow that up by saying, suck it up, Buttercup. Be a leader people will follow by choice. And I say this all the time, help people even after you've been burned. Just because one person over here has burned you doesn't mean everybody else is bad. There are a lot of bad people out there in the world, but believe it or not, there are a lot more good people. And you have to get over the fact of being burned, and maybe even take some accountability of like, how did I let that happen? But not kicking yourself to say, okay, sometimes there's bad people, but I'm a good person and I'm going to continue to help people even though I've been burned. And that's my lesson. That's my big lesson. And I try to volunteer a lot with nonprofits. And then even when I do a lot of management training, and I always tell everybody at the end, every one of my conferences, whether I'm on stage or if I'm on a webinar, if I did not answer your questions today, reach out to me, because if you have that question, somebody else does too. And if I don't know it, I will find the answer. And one time somebody said, why do you do that? They're not paying you for that. I'm like, because if somebody helped me 10 years ago, I want to keep that train going and have that good vibe going. So help people even after you've been burned.
I love that a lot. And I follow a similar methodology, which is just spread good karma. You never know do it really selflessly, because if you put a lot of good in like the environment, eventually it does come back to you. But really do it from the kindness of your heart and really wanting to help and pay it forward. So like you said, if you're a leader and you know that someone is struggling a little bit, go a little bit extra and then just help them out. You're not going to lose anything by just showing them how to do something that they're struggling with, or really just peeling the onion back. Is something else really going on? Is this really the issue that's causing you the delay? And then just like really taking the time to get to know your staff, getting to know the people around you, and just trying to do good in the world. Like it's easy. It's a lot easier to be good than it is to be bad.
Exactly. We're on the same page there. So thank you for that.
No, I love that. This has been an amazing interview. I wish I could talk to you way more, but that we're running out of time. But if somebody does want to hire you, they want to get to know you or see you speak somewhere, how can they get a hold of you?
Sure, they could just find me on LinkedIn, Wendy Sellers, or you can just Google the HR lady, because that's me. I have 2 trademarks on that. Or you can go to my website, thehrlady.com, check out my books, and I'll even have free trials of a learning management system that I just launched. So you will be hearing from me again when you come on my podcast. So thank you so much for inviting me today.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for being here. And for listeners, don't feel like you have to jot all this down. If you scroll down to the show notes, you'll be able to click all the links there. Also, if you go to my website at rainbowcareercoaching.com, you'll find Wendy on the Unicorn Wall of Fame, and you can actually click her bio and you'll have a little blog on everything that was talked about here today. Thank you so much, Wendy. Is there any last words you want to do before we close out?
Just go ahead and keep spreading that good karma and ask for help and then give help. That's it.
Perfect. Love that. Thank you so much. And until next time, everyone.